And we're back. It's your boy, Eduardo Jackson, CEO, founder, creator of the great Cinema Draft Game, and also Draft Stream. Welcome, everybody. This is where Daily Fantasy Sports meets the movies. We'd like to welcome first time but long time Cinema Draft player, DFS enthusiast. It's your boy, Nick Ringballs Ringwald.
How's it going? Thanks for having me.
No, thanks for being here. I know now. Question everyone wants to know because you mentioned this in group chat. You offered to be here drunk. Do you have a drink in hand today, sir?
I actually don't. The last couple weeks I hit
Boo!
it a little too hard. So keep sticking to water tonight.
All right. Well, I'm gonna hold you to your word. We have to bring you back on as drunk ring balls because that was the promise you gave the people in our illustrious group chat. For those of you who don't know, we do have a group chat on GroupMe here. Come check us out. We have a good time in there. We definitely chop it up about DFS, movies, movie industry stuff, all sorts of stuff. So definitely check us out. Today's Andy Cohen inspired Watch What Happens live style drinking game tonight will be the word buy. Because every time you hear us say this word, take a sip of what you're sipping. Even you and your dry ass, Nick. Tonight's pod is going to be all about some of the best business films we have seen. And since this is on everybody's mind, I ask this now of each of my guests on the program. How's your quarantine going, Nick?
Pretty good. Getting caught up on movies. I had a nice long list of movies I wanted to check out. So slowly been plowing through those. And then I think like everyone else in America, you got through Tiger King and
Carol Baskin totally did it.
Yeah. The memes just it was a nice escape to get away from everything that's going on.
I mean, anytime someone starts talking about sardine oil as a way to tease a big cat, we all as cats and kittens know that Carol Baskin is guilty. This is a Carol Baskin disappeared her husband podcast. Just in case.
Oh yeah, she 100%. When she put in that sardine line and then little smile at the camera, I'm just like, she knows exactly what she's doing.
All right, well, that's a great segue into our first and one of my favorite segments, which is what we're watching. And first up, what I'm watching is Homeland. Are you familiar with Homeland, Nick?
I'm familiar with the show. That's one of the shows I never did get around to watching. I know it would be one that I would love, but it's just fallen through the cracks for me so far.
It has had, well, it's had an uneven run, to be honest with you, over its 8 seasons. It's a typical Showtime show. It goes on a season or two too long. But in this case, they definitely stuck the landing, as they say. It was a great 8th season. I honestly did not know what to expect. They honestly could have ended it at the end of maybe season 7, and none of us probably would have missed it. But this 8th season was pretty inspired. It's always somewhat prescient. It definitely put bot farms up on my radar. About maybe a year before the rest of the country kind of caught up to it. It definitely was ahead of the curve with the Afghanistan deal. This 8th season was about brokering a deal with Afghanistan and getting out of the Afghanistan war. And it's just really well done as far as its takes on mental health, because our main character, Carrie Mathison, played by a very chin-quivering Claire Danes. I'm not sure if you're familiar with her work, but that woman can make her chin, bounce like a stripper ass. It's crazy. And she as a bipolar, main lead, she's simultaneously great at her job and terrible at her job. And it's just really worth kind of taking the journey with her through, I would say, 6 to maybe 6.5 of the 8 seasons to see what she does. It's a really great show. A lot of international intrigue, a lot of spy craft and trade craft. I highly endorse it. Definitely check out Homeland, especially if you're interested in seeing, an unusual portrayal of a high-functioning mentally ill person. I like it. Are you familiar with any other of Claire Danes' work?
Very, very. She was in the Romeo and Juliet, wasn't she? Was that
wow,
her?
Deep cut. Yes, Nick.
I think that's about it.
Okay. Yeah, no, she's really good in this. I definitely recommend it. What are one of those movies you said you've been plowing through during your quarantine? What are you watching?
I've really been trying to get on. Me and my roommate have just been working on what our top 50 movies list of all time. So
That's a
I've finally sat down, and I think I wrote down 125 movies. So I gotta vet that list a little bit. But some of the ones like I never seen Jackie Brown before. We got through that earlier this week.
Okay, all right.
Gangs of New York, missed on that one, so went through there. Usual Suspects. Some of these movies that I don't know why it took me so long to get around to, but glad I finally got there.
Yeah, Kaiser Soze, man. Yeah, that's another good deep cut. Okay, so this sounds like a pretty well vetted list. Like you're reaching back to the 90s. What's the furthest back on your movie list as far as age goes? Like what's the oldest movie you've seen, or maybe it's on your list that you're looking forward to seeing?
I probably, for me personally, it's probably Casablanca. I've never seen it. Roommate says it's his favorite movie of all time, so eventually I'm going to need to give that a go because, I mean, I've never heard anybody say a bad thing about it. So
That's a great point. And I remember I've seen Casablanca once, and somewhat like you, maybe not under quarantine circumstances, of course, but about oh wow, damn, I'm old. About 15 years ago, living in Atlanta, Netflixing it up, and this is back in the DVD rental days. They were transitioning to streaming, but it was all DVD rentals. I went through a similar stretch. Like Netflix also didn't have nearly the amount of selection they have today. So I was making my way through a similar list too. I did My Girl Friday. I did Casablanca. I did what was the I think I did one of those Fred Astaire. I think I did Singing in the Rain. I did several and I do remember liking Casablanca, although I don't remember much about it because I've seen just way too many movies. So that's a great idea. I wish I had the time. I have just too many shows right now. I'm into too many things. And speaking of, so from our illustrious draft stream game, we'll get more into that later. And I definitely want to pick your brain as far as game theory and strategy goes. You are one of our top players in both cinema draft and draft stream games. One of the movies I saw this weekend, spurred on by our draft stream game from last week. This is a sample of our talent pool from last week, was Bad Education. And that's the one with Hugh Jackman as, I guess you would say, a really shiny, polished school district superintendent who essentially is covering up a huge secret of school funds malfeasance and aided and abetted by his corrupt business manager, Allison Janney. And investigated by, of all people, and I love her. She's been in some movies recently. Fresh face in the scene. Geraldine Viswanathan. I knew I was going to screw up. Viswanathan. There we go. Geraldine Viswanathan. I like that. Well, let's go with that. And as a school reporter who uncovers it all, and this is all sort of based on a true story. Did you end up watching Bad Education?
Yeah, I did, and I really enjoyed it. When I was doing my research for last week, I saw that it had already had some positive reviews coming in, so I definitely wanted to check that out. And there were some twists and turns in there that I didn't see coming.
There really were, and I admired because it was as you see, I gave it a 9. I really liked it. The majority of the public gave it a 7.3, which definitely came into play in our final rankings in Cinema Draft. What I really enjoyed about it is that, for the most part, it is Hugh Jackman's movie, and that's fine. But there's a nice stretch in the middle where it's largely Allison Janney and giving her star ample room to shine, as well as Geraldine V. Her school reporter, daughter of a disgraced stockbroker. That was also a nice little angle in it, and it's really made time to fully flesh out these people. It's like, yes, you can look at them as corrupt embezzlers, which technically they were, but their motives were understandable. And honestly, it sparked a conversation afterwards, at least with me, about how far people will do to not only retain power, but basically what it's worth to them to just stay in power or to maintain a style of living to which they've been accustomed.
Yeah, no. And then the superintendent that Jackman played, like, he was on top of everything, just like, especially with the students and knowing everyone's name, and coming from the superintendent that I went to, I don't know if he knew anyone's name. He was in and out. He was also he was an NCAA basketball ref, so I don't know how often he was actually in the office doing stuff. Anyways, he was thinking for the Big Ten, so he was gone a lot, and I think the only time I ever really saw him was at graduation. So I mean, obviously they broke the law, but he certainly seemed like he was excellent at his job, at least the people facing aspect of it.
Yeah, that's a great point, because it seems like we as, I don't know, humans or society, we can easily be impressed by someone who masters like small details. Like we'll overlook a lot of stuff if we had a positive experience with somebody, or if they remembered one small detail that might seem insignificant to other people but means the world to us. He was excellent at nailing that aspect of public relations to an extent, and it's also what a lot of sociopaths use to mask their sociopathy, as they say. That one clip with them all huddled in the closet or in her office, and like, yeah, I'm sorry, and they're making her give this bullshit apology, and she's like, yeah, I don't know why I did it, and they're like, yeah, it's the sociopathy, and she looks right at Hugh, and at the time we don't know exactly what she means. Oh, but we find out.
Oh yeah. Well, and then just I love Allison Janney. She's one of those people that like, if I see her in a movie, I'm gonna check it out. And then I love her. Yeah, she just always seems to bring it.
Yeah, she does. Wildly charismatic, always has phone through lines, and it was better than what you would expect a Saturday night HBO original movie to be. So good job on that.
Absolutely.
Anything else in the Draft Stream talent pool last week that you actually watched?
No, not last week. Extraction. I did get around to seeing Extraction.
Oh yeah, what'd you think of that, Nick?
That was just about a 2-hour nonstop adrenaline ride, and I was honestly, I think you were the one who mentioned it in our group chat, where it was. I mean, I was expecting just kind of, action, but the story was actually a lot better than I thought it was going to be, and Hemsworth really had a solid performance, especially there at the end, and at the end of the movie, and just some of those shots they got were just fantastic. And I saw the clip where the director was strapped down to a car going 60 miles an hour getting those shots during the chase scene, and Extraction was a big fan.
Yeah, and it's funny because this is another movie that's directed by a stunt director for big franchise films. Everyone's familiar with John Wick and that origin. John Wick, the trilogy now is directed or run by a former stunt director, and Chad S.
Yeah.
And anyway, in this case, this one is Sam Hargrave. He's the Russo brothers stunt directors. First, I mean, I'm distracted for a second. Look at this dress. This dress is gorgeous. And dirty work in the men's bathroom, boy.
I mean, she just looked fantastic that whole movie. I mean, nothing fancy about her, and she just looked great.
Yeah, she looked great. Perfect bob. I'm a sucker for a bob. Any single ladies out there? Yeah, but no, it's a interestingly shot movie because I mean, as you can see, this is like kind of sepia tone, which kind of lets you know that you're in. I think this is Dhaka. There we go, Dhaka, Bangladesh, where a lot of the action takes place. And it kind of reminds me of how they film, Mexico a lot, would make it look extra sweaty. They just kind of make it all kind of yellow toned and sepia toned and what have you. But it really does kind of throw you in there with the action, a lot of steady cam, a lot of up close hand combat. I loved it because of, I guess, the stage combat. I actually have a background in acting, and when I went to acting school or acting grad school at DePaul Theater School, my favorite class is stage combat. We had this guy who used to do this guy named Nick Powell. I guess he's made like career for himself doing hand combat stuff. And so the entire time I'm watching this movie, I'm like breaking down the scene, like, oh my god, that would take me like weeks to learn. All these, and the action was so nonstop and ridiculous. There are points where you just have to laugh, like what he did with the metal cup, and he hit.
It was just. Yeah, I mean in that chase scene that was about 12 minutes in total with everything or something like that, and just you couldn't take your eyes off the screen. Everything was going on, and
Yeah, it was pretty nonstop. And for, I mean, there's some things that are a little bit unbelievable. Like, okay, so first of all, guys fall off buildings, pop up, somewhat fine. He has an arm in a sling. 20 minutes later, the sling's gone, and now it's got full function in his arm. You can't take it seriously. Take distraction on its own terms and enjoy the hell out of it.
Yeah, as a big fan of the Fast and Furious franchise, I know how to just spin my belief and just enjoy it for what it is. But because like the guy you just had there on the screen, he gets hit by a truck, and then 5 minutes later he chases down Hemsworth and the kid, and you're just like, that dude just got hit by a 5-ton truck, and he's fine right now.
Yes, and also all you insurance adjusters in the audience, do not watch this movie if you want your head to explode. A lot of destruction, a lot of mayhem. I loved it for it. And honestly, in the way they set it up, I mean, there could be a sequel. I saw something around the internet today that they're banning about the idea of a possible prequel. I'm up for anything. This movie killed it. I think it's in the top 10 of Netflix over the weekend. So great job, Extraction, and everybody associated with that. That was a fun time. And that is what we're watching. All right, so we are at the meat of our episode this week. We're doing the top 3 business movies. And here are the rules for those of you who are new to the program. You name a movie dealing with business or high finance. We alternate picks. Once someone picks a movie, that movie is out of play. And since you're our guest, Nick, and hopefully you've read the rundown. As you know, some people in this podcast do not. Hopefully came prepared. What is your first pick?
So I'm going to start it off. I was debating back and forth between 2. I hope you don't take the other one so I can have both of them. But I'm going to start off with Social Network.
Okay. Yes, the business of not only startup culture, but also friendship.
I saw this in theaters, I think 2 or 3 times, and then watched it here and there. And I've rewatched it recently in the past week, and just everything about this movie. I obviously it's dramatized a bit for the big screen, but this is just probably a peak Eisenberg performance, and it puts Rooney Mara on the map. And just I'm a big fan of this movie. The Indian guy, what's his name?
Max Minghella, yeah.
That's
son of director Anthony Minghella.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yes.
I thought he was gonna. I thought he was gonna end up being a lot bigger than what he was after this movie, but.
He takes a lot of. I mean, I'm not sure if he or I don't know if it's a bad agent or if he really made a push to become a leading man or anything. But he's in *Handmaid's Tale*. I think all 3 seasons. I gave up after first episode of season 3. But he gets work. But you're right, he's not as big a star as you'd think someone with his name and pedigree and decent acting chops would be. Yeah. No. Yeah. Well, and as someone as I do appreciate the high art movies as well, but I also like my lowbrow. And his he was in The Internship with Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson, and he kind of plays a fake snooty British person, and just I enjoy seeing him. So it's nice to go back and revisit it and see how he it's him and the Winklevoss twin. Armie Hammer, that's another person. Yeah, that definitely put him on the map. Absolutely. The CGI in that movie for what is that 2011? Yeah. Or 2010. Like I didn't know who Armie Hammer was at the beginning of that. I legitimately thought it was twins. Yeah. Actually, I mean, no one knew who Armie Hammer was really. I thought it was twins as well. Fun fact: Max Minghella is actually a snooty British person, born in Hampstead, London, England, and born and raised there. So just like apparently American accents are the easiest thing for foreigners to do. I'm really jealous. It's really annoying. They just flatten all the vowels, and they're one of us. It's not fair. Well, when I endorse and support and mirror your love of the Social Network. I remember, so back in the Great Recession, and it's the time when I lost everything with living with my mom, and it was such a great look for a 35-year-old. A friend of mine back in Hollywood sent me, like, I'm not sure if it was a production draft of the script, but he sent me a copy of the Social Network script. This is about, this is 2009, months before this thing came out. I remember it's Sorkin, so I just inhaled it. I remember reading it, and when I was done, I turned to my mom and I was like, you know what, Mom? All I gotta do, all Fincher has to do is turn on the camera, and it's an Oscar. And it was one of the best scripts I ever read. And there's so much stuff in the script that they left out about. There's this whole like diatribe where he's talking to Rooney Mara at the bar at the beginning. He's talking about, like, the number of, I guess, genius people in China there are. And it's just so much minutia and detail in the script. I mean, I remember looking at the script, like, thinking, not only is Sorkin, like, just, a good writer, good structure, all sort of stuff, but he really finds, whatever he writes about, he finds, like, these interesting details, almost like a sociopath, about whatever it is he's covering, that really really kind of hook you in, that, really give you an insight into the mind of the characters that he's dealing with. And a lot of the great writers I don't really read a ton as far as, like, novels these days, but a lot of the writers I read tend to find one small detail about a person, about a character, that really lets you know how the character thinks. And Aaron Sorkin is really good at doing that type of stuff. And I was really in marvel at that script. So that's an excellent first choice. Well done, Nick. Any closing thoughts on the Social Network?
Just one quick little nugget. I was listening to a podcast about the Social Network, and they were saying that first scene with him and Rooney Mara, it took 99 takes for them to get that scene right. So that just, cause I guess apparently I guess it's a 7-minute scene, but it was 20 pages in the script, and they wanted to get it all done in the 7 minutes. So it was like, just go faster. If you think you're going fast, you're not going fast enough.
And his scripts read like that, and because I'm sure you're familiar with The West Wing. I mean, all the walk and talk stuff, and normal scripts for a 1-hour show tend to be 60, 65 pages. I'd hear, like, his would come in at like 80 to 90, and he was just wanting to power through all that dialogue. Somewhat like Mamet style. Mamet doesn't have. Mamet's more like staccato, but like everyone talking on top of each other, one after the other, just bap bap bap. Sorkin is similar, but it's long sentences for people who like to talk fast, like myself. Long sentences on top of each other as well, instead of just like kind of bam, bam, bam. So he definitely is challenging, and it's 99 takes. I'm not surprised. It's very Fincher style. I'm sure you've heard of the legendary Fincher, Are You Down takes, Gone Girl. I mean, it must take him. I mean, no wonder he's not more prolific, because if you're doing 99 takes in one scene, yikes! You're gonna be shooting some days.
That's gonna be a long shoot there.
Yeah, Andrew Garfield, playing my namesake Eduardo.
Also, Brenda Song. She needs to be in more things. Big Brenda Song.
This is definitely a very how pro Brenda Song I am. I watched that awful Netflix movie starring her. What was it? The Stranger, Perfect Stranger, whatever it is. I watched it solely for her. It was definitely one of those Stairmaster watches where, okay, I'm trapped in this machine for 30 minutes at a time. That's the only way I can get through this. It is terrible, but I love her. She's great.
Big Brenda Song. I just watched one with her not too long ago. I don't remember it was something
Secret Obsession. That's what it was.
The one I saw, it was I think it had Seth Green in it, and they were in somewhere in Asia, and she was like a tour guide, and then she used a thick Asian accent for the tours, and then they met up with her. They happened to run into her at a bar later, and she's like, "Oh, I just do that for the tips." I can't remember exactly.
We got free her. We got a free John show. We got a free some other favorites who just are not getting nearly enough work. Station 19. Nobody watched that show. Dollface seemed interesting. I need to see some more episodes of that. Yeah, we love it. We love Brenda Song. All right, moving on. That's what we call. Welcome to the podcast, Nick. That was our first cultural cul-de-sac. You're officially one of us. You might get some T-shirts made. I don't know. All right, so my first business movie, and anyone who knows me knows this is obvious for me. And this is The Big Short. My goodness, I love it. Was that the other one you were thinking of?
No, that was what I was hoping to sneak in for number 3. But yeah, That
Now,
great
now,
choice.
welcome to the game on the podcast. Now going back to that awful period in all of our lives, the Great Recession, 2008, 2009. I actually read the book, The Big Short, because I had lost my house, lost my car, and moved back in with my mama like a chump. I was trying to figure out what the hell happened, and that's when I started reading, books. I read Too Big to Fail, or The Big Short. I read Griftopia. I was trying to figure out what the hell happened, and that's actually what put me on a path towards other great things in my life, like Bitcoin and some other stuff. But basically, I read the book. It's a great book, and I'm like, okay, there's no way this thing is filmable. And when I heard that they'd sold the rights, as they do to almost every, Michael Lewis book, and Michael Lewis, a fantastic writer of nonfiction. I mean, I hate nonfiction generally, but I love his stuff. And I laughed, I'm like, okay, good luck with that. And then I saw this movie. I think it came out, was it Christmas or something?
Yeah, it was Christmas or Thanksgiving of that year.
Yeah. So it came out holiday season, which when I'm usually home anyways. And I remember seeing it. It might have been our Christmas movie, me and Mom. And I loved it. I was shocked at how good it was. I loved the little narrative tricks they made to explain some of the financial aspects to it. It really did make it accessible to people. And I came away from that movie thinking that, kind of like with the book, that it's required viewing and required reading for all citizens to really understand how, not only how rigged against the average person, the equities market and stock market is. I don't know. I'm now seeing how you said you were trying to sneak it in. What are your thoughts on this movie, Nick?
Oh, well, speaking of the financial, I worked for a financial institution a couple years ago, and when I was going through all my Series 7 testing, I went home immediately and watched this movie. I think I saw this 4 times in theaters because I used to work at a theater, so I got to go for free. So I saw this plenty of times in theaters. This probably one I watch every couple months just because everything about it is just great. Adam McKay showing that he can do a serious movie.
Yes.
And Christian Bale diving in.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But no, like they do a really good job of explaining the dense material with those fourth wall breaks. They got Margot Robbie in the bathtub and like
Selena Gomez explaining derivatives, whatever, in the kitchen or something. Yeah, that was great.
It's extremely boring material unless you're actually interested in it. But they do a good job of it's like almost a 2-hour movie, and you don't want to take your eyes off the screen, and you feel like you're learning while you're watching it too. This is an excellent choice. I was hoping I could slip it in, but I'm glad it was taken.
Yeah, no, it's always top of mind because of my personal reasons, obviously, but also because this Gosling performance. I mean, it's criminal that he didn't win anything for this, or maybe he did, but not in the Academy Award. But this was incredible. He was so. I mean, he plays like that. I mean, he's a composite character from the book.
Yeah.
But he plays that kind of slick, asshole that, I mean, that obviously is in his toolbox, that's in his bag, something along the lines of, crazy, stupid love. But he's just so compelling and charismatic. I mean, you see him at the gym and he's working out, he's talking on the phone. I mean, I've never really dealt with stock markets or whatever, because one, I never really had the money, and two, when I had the money, I'm like, fuck this, it's rigged. I dealt in, and I was on the fringe of Hollywood for about a decade, and I had a similar sounding, somewhat similar looking manager type who, sounded exactly like this guy. And so I really related to him as far as the way that he kind of swims through life like a shark, always looking for an angle. Maybe he's not necessarily looking to screw you over, but he's not necessarily looking to help you either. He's out for himself, and maybe his institution or his clients. But it's just fascinating how he got into it, and I really loved it from little throwaway lines like, I'm jacked the teeth. I always remember that because he's just so committed. Everyone knows Gosling's a great actor, but this is such a fun role. It's kind of flashy, but not really. And it's such an ensemble cast. It's easy to kind of overlook, but what he's really working, he's working so hard, it looks easy. If that makes sense.
Yeah. No, yeah. Well, yeah. Like you said, I mean, normally he plays like an understated character, and you don't necessarily get to see everything shine through. But like you said with Crazy Stupid Love, I was going to bring that up. He's basically, it's more or less the same character. It's just more on steroids and
if he had
not
a
as
job.
strong.
Yeah, if it wasn't a trust fund baby and had a job.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and a lot of great cameos in this. A lot of great. I mean, in this whole Michael Burry thing, that thing in the book, that's 100% real. Like they fired him even though he made them all like $1 billion, something like that. I mean, it's hard to be against the grain, and I say it as a lover of Bitcoin. Well before it's fashionable. People think you're crazy and stuff when you see around corners, and that's what these guys kind of did. And what's sad to me, and what makes this a great movie and great source material, is that we're poised to make similar mistakes again, and it's almost like this thing didn't happen. But yet if you watch it or read the book, everything you need, I mean not everything, but everything you need to know to avoid this mistake is there. And I don't know if it's human nature or the nature of capitalism or whatever, that's a whole other discussion, but we're bound to repeat the same mistakes. And it's kind of sad because it can all be avoided. We can all be good people, better people. All right, so that Big Short, that was mine. What's your next movie?
All right, so I ended up getting my top two choices here. My second one, I'm going to go with Wolf of Wall Street.
Why did I think of that? Well played, sir. Well played. Wolf of Wall Street. I just rewatched that like a couple months ago too. All right,
I actually rewatched this last week. I think this is Leo's best performance. I know he won for The Revenant, but that felt like a career. We screwed you a little bit. Margot Robbie, we got this hurt. I don't think she could look any better in this movie. Matthew McConaughey,
bottle rocket.
Yeah. Oh man, Matthew McConaughey, that scene is just. I just go on YouTube sometimes and watch that scene with him and Leo at lunch. Jonah Hill is fantastic.
I mean, the story behind the Matthew McConaughey thing, right?
Yeah, what he does that to pump himself up, and they're like, we're gonna put that in the movie.
Yeah, that was good stuff.
But
Jonah Hill.
Yeah, those prosthetic teeth, that just looks so painful. But I mean, and then this scene right here, where he's sitting on the bus on the train after they get him, and I guess it was earlier when he was on his boat. He was like, "You might get me, but you're still going to be going to your job and realize is it really worth it?" And you can just see the upsetness in him even after they get him, where he's still riding the subway, working his 9 to 5, and
all the stuff that he talked about him is like it's true. But yeah, it's this movie's great. It's definitely this actually was a Christmas movie, because I do remember going to the theater, because the draft mom and I, we see a movie every Christmas evening, or every Christmas night, every Christmas Day evening.
Yeah.
That's like our ritual, and this was that movie for us. And it was just, I remember we were laughing our ass off when he's crawling out to the Maserati or whatever, and he's just, I mean, it's such an over the top performance, but yet obviously based on something in real life. It's a great movie. It's fun. It's on Adderall the entire time. It's awesome. It's great. What else can you say?
It's over 3 hours, and you don't check your phone, you don't check the time, and when it's over, you're like, oh my God, I didn't realize 3 hours went by.
Absolutely. Great pick. I'm jealous. All right, so I'm gonna come off top rope too. This one's way too obvious. It's Wall Street. Taking that out. I mean, you got to do it. And also, it is a classic, and it still slaps today. I'm telling you, it still slaps. So Wall Street, for those who somehow may not be familiar or just too young, definitely was what was during Charlie Sheen's heyday. I think he's fresh off Platoon after this, whatever. Michael Douglas also doing his late 80s to mid 90s just killer run. He's honestly, I kind of fault him for spawning a whole generation of stockbrokers. Gordon Gekko is just, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. You were studying for your Series 7. I mean, how revered is this movie and that character Gordon Gekko, if at all, still today in stockbroker circles.
Oh, it was. Yeah, I mean, there was Wall Street references left and right when we were going through our training. It inspired a whole generation of people to be stockbrokers and the do whatever it takes mentality. And this is one I probably need to go back and rewatch. It's probably been a good 5 or 6 years since I've seen it, but it's, yeah.
And now also knowing what you know too about.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's just such a great. I mean, it's a bit of a morality play to an extent. Basically what happens when you get exposed to too much money too soon. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be that way, but it's definitely is of the mindset of the time. I mean, I was a kid in the 80s. Was it 87? Yeah, I didn't watch it in the theaters, per se, but but that whole greed is good mentality is a real thing. Like Reagan totally kicked off a bit of a me culture. Everyone was out for self. Everyone was definitely trying to get rich quick. Boom boom times. They lowered tax rates, dramatically. So it definitely spurred on some sort of rush to business, and nothing was stopping stockbrokers. It was definitely the heyday of Wall Street. And Wall Street, the movie, came at the perfect time. Oliver Stone, former stockbroker himself, definitely had connection to the material. And it's just it's a great film. He won Oscars for it. I think he won an Oscar for it, at least screenplay. I believe Douglas won Best Supporting. I think Best Lead. I think he won for Gordon Gekko. I mean, hard for him not to. And it's I mean, greed is good. That's that's the one quote everyone will come away with from this movie.
That was
I'm speechless because it's such a timeless movie. I mean, yes, all the stuff is kind of dated, like his big brick of a phone on the beach where he's talking to Bud Fox, aka Charlie Sheen. He's like, "I just want to share the sunset with you, buddy." I mean, it's comical, but the same ethos applies. Basically, I mean, as long as we're gonna have this type of, as I like to call late stage capitalism, where there are rules for some, but they don't apply to all. I mean, it's always going to apply. It's a great movie. It's a timeless movie, honestly, unless something dramatically changes in the system, and it's worth a watch. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, for sure. This is one that you should go. Anybody who hasn't seen it should go and watch it.
100%. All right. So what's your final movie? And I think you're gonna take the one I want, but go for it. Just do what you must.
I think I'm gonna throw you for a little loop here. We're gonna go back to a Michael Lewis book, okay. And I'm going to go with Moneyball.
Oh, okay, fair enough. I like it. It would definitely be in my top 10 of business movies. But yeah, and another book I read, I think there's also another one I read during during self-quarantine in 2009. So tell us about Moneyball. What'd you like?
So, I mean, I'm a big sports fan. So, and then baseball is one of my favorite ones to watch. So, I didn't need anything more to sell me on this movie, but with I guess you could put Once Upon a Time in Hollywood there. But other than that, Brad, this is my favorite Brad Pitt performance. Billy Bean's a bit of a pretty boy himself, and then obviously Brad Pitt's a very pretty boy, and he just to see the inside workings of baseball was nice. The scene right here where he's talking to all the scouts and letting them know,
die.
Just this is one of my. We get Chris. I didn't even know who Chris Pratt was, and he looks a lot like Scott Hatteberg.
He was a Parks and Rec guy.
I honestly thought that was Scott Hatteberg the first time I watched the movie because he looks pretty similar to him.
He really does, doesn't he?
We get Philip Seymour Hoffman playing Art Howe as the coach, and being 20 minutes from St. Louis, they had Royce Clayton, who was one of the shortstops when I was growing up watching Cardinals baseball. He gets the cameo as Miguel Tejada. There's just a lot of things about this movie that I still love. I loved the first time I watched it. This was another movie I probably saw 4 or 5 times in theater when I was working there. This was our first time we could really see Jonah Hill being a serious actor.
Yes. He got nominated for an Oscar for this.
Yep. Yeah. And I just this is just one of my favorite movies overall.
Yeah, I enjoyed. Well, I mean, it's a great movie. It's an excellent movie. I loved it. I rewatched it. I think 3 or 4 months ago. I mean, as they say, still slaps. And this is another book I think I did read in 2009 or whatever. And it was because after I read The Big Short, I think I started to inhale everything Michael Lewis. I want to read like all this stuff. He's so good. And I I played baseball in high school. Wasn't that good, but I still do like the sport more to play it than necessarily to watch. Like I won't necessarily like watch the Mariners season or anything because we're so bad. But I like the sport, so it was really fun to kind of see the peek behind the curtain because and you'd heard like the term, Moneyball generally referred to like with how the A's had done their program and stuff, but to really get the behind the scenes stuff was really good, and that was really my first. As a writer myself, it was really not to go all Ryan Russillo on us as a writer, but as a writer myself, it was really that was when I really was able to see, like, for lack of a better term, an analogy, the seams, the stitching, and how Michael Lewis crafts these nonfiction stories almost better than fictional stories. Because I guess the mark of a great nonfiction writer is to tell a story so well that it's almost indistinguishable from like a well-told novel or something. And it felt like you're reading a novel to an extent. It was great. Like, the way he starts off, I think it starts from the book too. Billy Beans, like same scenario. Billy Beans in the bowels of Oakland Stadium, whatever, on TV is the A's losing to the Yankees, and he's out there doing reps. He's doing he's lifting weights to get the energy out, and that was a great setting in the book. And keeping that was smart on part of the movie. The movie had a long gestation. I think it was really going to be Sorkin. I think Sorkin wrote the script, right? Sorkin wrote the script. I think someone was supposed to. That's right. It was not Fisher. Was it Soderbergh? Soderbergh wanted to direct it. He fell out. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Zalian. I think Zalian came in and did the touch-ups, but Sorkin wrote the original screenplay for it. And so I mean, these two right here. I mean, your script's in great hands. I mean, both Oscar, winners, I believe. And Bennett Miller, not familiar with his work. I did see Capote, which is fine, but this is a very solid job. Like, he didn't get in the way. I mean, he had a great script, he had a great cast, he didn't get in the way. I really enjoyed it too. Moneyball's a great pick. Well,
thank you.
And my last pick is going to be Boiler Room. I mean, another stockbroker favorite, I'm sure. Have you seen Boiler Room, actually, Nick?
I have not. This is on my list because when I was doing my research for this, the list kept popping up on all the lists when I was looking. So it's this one and Margin Call. I think I need to.
Margin Call is solid. Margin Call is definitely more wonky than Boiler Room, but Boiler Room is fun. Well, yeah, and this one might be a little before your time too. It came out in 2000. I mean, who knows what our priorities were 20 years ago? But this was definitely in my pocket. I mean, a bunch of young 20-something guys, doing the whole well, actually, this is stock. It's kind of stockbrokers, but it's more like, I mean, it's in the title. It's a boiler room. They're basically trying to pawn off shitty stocks on unsuspecting people. It's really kind of sad. Giovanni Ribisi, I mean, a bit of an ageless wonder. He's got the same face like throughout his entire.
Yeah, he looks the same in these photos as he does now.
He really does. But Giovanni Ribisi plays a kind of low-level Queens casino, like home casino run. Like he sets up tables in his house, in his Queens brownstone, runs like a little small time casino racket out of his house, stays on the radar, making okay money or whatever. But then one guy kind of dumps a bunch of money on at one of his tables and says that he made all this money being like this kind of stockbroker, and he's like, if you want to make some real money, come check us out. Goes over to this place which is run by. Actually, this is run by Ben Affleck, and I'm not sure you've seen his monologue. Ben Affleck has a very famous monologue from the scene where he talks about all the money he's made from this boiler room racket or whatever. Which is it's a classic scene. It's a classic scene. If you haven't seen it, I'll send it to you because it's great. It's a great monologue for any film, for any theater school student. Anyways, it's run by Ben Affleck, who's really only there in like 2 or 3 scenes. It's really like a cameo. But the day to day is dominated by Vin Diesel's character, and this is the role I think which I mean, late 90s. I mean, he was kind of making a name for himself. I think he'd done a Fast and the Furious, or no, actually, no, Fast and Furious, I think was a year or two after this, the first one.
Yeah, I think it 02 was the first one.
Yeah, and we'd seen him in Saving Private Ryan, though. He was in that, I think, in 97, 90.
Yeah, that's 98, I think, because the 99 off.
Yeah, 98, I think. Yeah. So we'd seen him in Saving Private Ryan, but he was just part of the ensemble. In this movie, he really does kind of dominate the screen when he's in it. And he's got, a really good part in it. So this is what really elevates Vin Diesel's stardom. I mean, as you see, a lot of, clean cut, cocky, ready to take over the world, young white guys like Scott Conn. I mean, also similar face. I mean, this guy, his face and hair never really changes throughout his career. I mean,
Jamie Kinnan. I pulled it up here on IMDb. This is a hell of a cast they had here.
It's a great cast.
Funny side note about Nia Long. I was just talking about her the other day to one of my friends. Where has Nia Long gone to? I feel like I haven't seen her in anything.
She has been aging gracefully. Sadly, like many of our great actresses, she's been relegated more to supporting roles. Unless your name is Meryl Streep, they're generally not coming to you. Once you hit like late 40s, early 50s to the lead stuff. But I just saw her in something. I want to say it was on
Black AF.
Yeah, Black AF. Thank you, Black AF. She's doing some supporting stuff. But we need to get her in more of a leading role for something. Nia Long is great. Definitely one of my crushes growing up. Thank you for bringing that up. We love Nia Long. This is definitely another. And then among the things we support on this podcast is definitely the resurgence of Nia Long. Let's see if she's got anything coming up. If we're gonna go into a quick cultural cult. I mean, look at her. Also, look pretty timeless.
She still looks really good. My for whatever reason, I think it used to be on HBO a lot back in the day. But me and my brother, I think I've seen the movie Held Up with her and Jamie Foxx probably about 100 times.
Oh my
God. It's one of those movies that I'm aware it's not a good movie, but if I ever catch it on TV, I'm gonna finish watching it.
Wow, that is quite a sick humble brag. I absolutely hated that movie. This is back in my movie review days, and yeah, here's a fun quick anecdote. So back in I remember this movie. Okay, so I was doing about in 99, 2000. I was doing a lot of like regular extra work, like making background crosses and all these different sets or whatever. I was on a set back when Ava DuVernay, director, Academy Award nominated Ava DuVernay directs. This is back when she was just a publicist, right? She was an on-set publicist for a show called City of Angels. That's how I kind of ran into her. Maybe she heard us extras talking one day and heard me talking about how I do movie reviews, but she put me on her list, right? So she's getting me into some of these premieres, these screenings, whatever, and writing my reviews. And I think it was held. Yeah, it had to have been Held Up. So Held Up comes. It was released. It was supposed to be a big summer movie for Jamie Foxx. I mean, low budget as far as what they spent on it, but big as far as supposed to be raising his profile at the time they're releasing it, right? And had Nia Long, had Jamie Foxx. I'm excited because I like both those guys. And it turns out to be terrible. It's a disaster. I hated it. And I remember in my review I wrote, I will duck walk buck naked across La Cienega Boulevard if this movie makes over 10 million this weekend, right? I think it only made like 9 million its opening weekend. So a little bit of sweat there. But when I turned in the review to Ava, I'm just this, I'm not part of like any real newspaper. I'm like, I wasn't really blogging. We didn't really have blogging back then, but I think I was doing it for like a local, SoCal newspaper or whatever. Anyways, I guess she got it and just turned over to her people and ran it without checking it because when she saw that I hated the movie, she was so livid. She blacklisted me from her list for like 2 years.
No.
For 2 years. I mean, we made up nice and everything later on, and I ended up working on some other stuff for her. But yeah, this is the movie that got me blacklisted from Ava DuVernay's my small claim to fame.
I can't give an endorsement to anyone listening to this movie. I'm well aware it's not a good movie, but there's just something about it that whenever it was on, I would just sit there and watch it, and it's so ridiculous. It's so terrible.
Look at that double feature. This definitely might be before your time. But Sprung, not a great movie, but I enjoyed it with a great soundtrack. Oh my goodness, yes. Yeah, you wouldn't know anything about that. But yeah, so I guess in the entry or in the pantheon of bad movies we love, I guess mine would be The Ladies' Man. Courvoisier, That Is My Drink. I love that movie. It's not good, but I enjoy it entirely. Ladies' Man.
My I think my number one of that is She's Out of My League. Once that got put on Netflix, I think I watched that probably once a week for the first year. I would send snaps to my friends, and one of my friends sent me a True Life I'm Addicted to She's Out of My League meme, just because I don't know what it is about the movie. I mean, what's her? It's not
Alice Eve. Yeah.
Alice Eve. Yeah, I always get her and Teresa Palmer mixed up.
Yeah, they do favor each other.
Alice Eve looks fantastic in the movie. I'm a big JT Miller fan when he's not calling in bomb threats on buses. And I like Jay Baruchel, Kristen Ritter. It actually has a fairly good cast.
Kristen Ritter, I totally forgot about that. Yeah, TJ Miller, yeah. And Alice
TJ,
Eve.
not JT Miller.
Yeah, TJ Miller, yeah. And Alice Eve, actually, this is the movie, at least for me, gave me or mainstream American, audiences like myself, this is the movie that gave us Alice Eve. And yeah, she definitely kills it in this. She looks incredible. But fun fact, first of all, you talk about black don't crack. Alice Eve don't crack. She looks incredible now. I just watched an episode of Belgravia. I can't believe I forgot to mention that earlier on in what we're watching. I won't say I'm obsessed with Belgravia, but there's something that Julian Fellows does. Julian Fellows, the guy, is the writer of every single episode of Downton Abbey. He's the writer of these, I guess, these first 6 episodes of Belgravia, based off a novel of his. There's a little flex. I'm gonna write a novel and do a whole series on it because I can't with Julian Fellows and I get down like that. But she's in Belgravia and she looks. She's got a timeless face, timelessly good looks, and she looks exactly the same, good as ever. And she's a pivotal part of Belgravia, and I definitely recommend Belgravia. Wow, Lindsay Sloan. Okay, where's she been? Alice Eve is a pivotal part of Belgravia. Belgravia. I don't know. It's definitely another one of those British upstairs downstairs type shows. I highly recommend it if you want to get into snitch butlers on Adderall. It's called Downton Abbey Snitch Butlers. This is Snitch Butlers on Adderall. I definitely endorse it. And Alice Eve in it. She's great. Yeah, okay. So we're going to wrap this segment up and move on to the part for those of you who are new or even returning. If you're interested in the Cinema Draft game and how it is played, we'll take a quick break to bring you up to speed to let you know about what Cinema Draft is all about, how to play it when we are back up and running. We'll pause real quick for those of you watching at home, and we'll be right back. And we're back. All right. We are now the segment that we call the Quarantine Movie of the Week. And last week's Quarantine Movie of the Week was Hancock, the Will Smith, Jason Bateman, Charlize Theron star. This week's Quarantine Movie of the Week, and actually, do I have it up? I don't have it up. This week's Movie of the Week, this is the one we have up today, Tuesday, the day of our taping, Perks of Being a Wallflower. Great coming-of-age movie. I highly recommend it. But tomorrow, by the time you guys actually watch this, we should have up our new Quarantine Movie of the Week, and this will be Snatch. It is an ensemble London-based crime caper involving diamonds, the Travelers, also known as Gypsies, also known as Pikeys, don't want to offend anybody, and bare knuckle boxing. Snatch also stars, honestly, a wildly underrated Brad Pitt performance, a younger Jason Statham. Got some really kind of people guys you've seen before. Dennis Farina, R.I.P., great character actor, and also Vinnie Jones, who I guess at the time was, that between that and Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, used to be a footballer, right? Yeah. Have you actually? I'm sorry. Have you seen Snatch, Nick?
So once you sent me the breakdown, I hadn't seen this, but I went and watched it yesterday.
Oh, nice.
So I wanted to be prepared, and this is another movie that was actually on my list. So this just gave me a reason to stop procrastinating and get it done.
Well, there were 2 questions. So 1, did you like it? And 2, did you watch it with closed captioning on? Because I please hope you did.
One, yes, I did like it, and two, I watch most things with closed captioning on. So yes, I did
Attaboy.
have it. Which
You like caravans. You like dogs.
yeah, you definitely needed it for Brad Pitt. His accent, his performance in that was, if you have never seen him before, you wouldn't have thought he was an American.
Yeah, he totally slipped into it, and it's part of. I mean, there are a lot of theories about Brad Pitt's career, why he takes the roles he's taken. He's basically the type of guy who's a movie star in spite of himself. I mean, he hasn't done too many like big franchise films. I think the only franchise really on his record is the Ocean's franchise, right? And everything else, he's really kind of tries to do a lot of character work or whatever. But this is the type of movie where even as dirty up as they try to make him look, I mean, he's got like the 8-pack here.
Yeah.
I mean, looks like he's in incredible shape, totally charismatic, even though you can barely understand what he's saying. You gotta love it. I love this movie. It's so much fun. I rewatched it, I think, maybe 2 months ago. It's just such a fun movie. Snatch. I mean, a lot going on. Lenny James. I mean, I'm not sure if you're watching this. AMC, I don't know if it's for lack of content, but they decided they're going to start replaying the whole Line of Duty series from the BBC, which I guess started back in 2012. First season, it's very Lenny James heavy. So see Lenny James looking all scuzzed up like this when he's a more polished detective in Line of Duty is quite a turn for me right now. A lot of great names in this movie and very enjoyable to watch. I love it. Love this movie.
Yeah, I was glad you put that on the list, or put that, so it gave me a reason to watch it.
And a man who comes prepared for the podcast. I don't even know what to do with you, Nick. You're welcome back anytime, damn it. We're not even at the end of this thing. We're welcome back anytime. So we'll give you a air horn for that, damn it. And thanks also to everyone who has played our little social media game, Social CD. We're having a lot of fun with this game. We like to give people something to do while they're trapped at home during the quarantine. Last week's was Les Blacks, the African American Social CD. I performed pretty poorly with this one. Only eked out about 11 points. It's fun to kind of throw up some lineups and some potential synopses and titles of movies you can come up with for potential, basically playing your own studio executive. Definitely make sure you check out the next version of the game. It comes up every Thursday morning up on our Twitter account, which is @PlaySInTheDraft. And I am actually scrambling to, this is me being unprepared, bring up the Social CD sheet for this week. And like I said, it is the over 50 set. Let's see. And actually, have you tried your hand at a Social CD lineup?
I haven't. I see them every week, and I sit there and I take about 15 minutes every week, and I try and build my team. I think what the problem is I always try to find a way to get 2 headliners in there, and I frustrate myself, and then I end up getting, and then I just move on. This week I'll sit down and actually get it out and do it, because I've seen everyone. You tagged me in the Millennial one. I tried for about 30 minutes to get something. Man. I just frustrated myself and then moved on.
Well, and leave it to you, Ringballs, one of our top money winners of all time in the Cinema Draft game, to take this super serious, to really think deeply about it. When halftime, I'm just throwing shit out there, hoping it sticks. And more often than not, it is not. To my detriment.
I can tell you all the ones that you've put together are movies that I would go see in theaters in a heartbeat. So.
Why, thank you. Checks in the mail. actually, you know what? Actually, because of your performance in Draft Stream last week, you have been PayPal. Make sure you check your PayPal. This actually, that actually gave you a glimpse of it. Here we go. This should be the road. There we go. This is our over 50 game. Just give you a sneak preview of what will be up on the Twitters tomorrow. And yes, all of these actors, as great as they look, are 50 years or older. And so this is our challenge of putting together a anti-ageist cast for your movie. And as is the rules of the game, you must choose exactly 5 actors. You must have no more, no less. You must have at least 1 headliner, 1 co-star, 1 day player, and you only have $100 to do it. So have fun with it. Title them, tag 3 people to spread the game, and send us your cast. We look forward to seeing you. There we go. All right. And moving on to what I've been looking forward to, because we don't often have active players in the Cinema Draft game or the Draft Stream game to speak of on the podcast. So this is your time to shine, damn it. We've been conducting our little alpha test of Draft Stream. We had an incredible week of a fantastic finish, a ridiculous finish, less than 0.07 points separated first from second, less than 40 points, actually less than 50 points separated first from third. And had it not been to a somewhat clerical error on Ringball's part, he actually probably been competing, or if not outright won the whole damn thing. So with the Draft Stream game, someone like Cinema Draft, for those who aren't aware, and we encourage you all to play the game because we definitely need the data as we're testing this out as a potential part-time replacement while we're waiting on movie theaters reopen for the Cinema Draft game. Basically, you have $100,000 salary cap. You must have 10 people in your talent pool. 10 people from the talent pool on your call sheet, no more, no less. Standard 100,000. You must have at least one day player, one co-star, and one headliner in your call sheets. And headliners get a 40% bonus. It's based off of Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic's critic scores, as well as overweighting 60% for Rotten Tomatoes audience scores and IMDb user scores. So, as someone who's played the game all 3 weeks, we appreciate your participation. What are your thoughts so far on the Draft Stream game? Suck-ups are encouraged, but give us your honest opinion.
Oh, I like it. I like how everything's I was also a big fan of the Cinema Draft game, so both of these products have been fantastic. But I like the idea of building rosters, and so last week, yeah, this is mine. I had been looking at Bad Education. I saw it already had a few positive reviews, so I wanted to go heavy on that one. I got a 5-pack in there. I got my co-star and a couple day players along with the 2 headliners. Like you said, the clerical error, I was just not paying close enough attention. I tried to sneak an 11th person in there on accident, which had I been paying attention, I would have changed, probably floored to the Beastie Boys documentary. I don't know if I had enough.
No, you probably don't for that one, but something. I mean, even if you had taken Flower, Never Have I Ever, you would have actually run away with this. I mean, Never Have I Ever came out out. I mean, as an experiment, because the games run from Thursday through Monday. As an experiment, I was playing around with adding Monday debuting titles. We only have till Monday 12 p.m. Pacific time, and after that is when I check the scores. And with as is Netflix's fashion, their Monday debuts are pretty much Sunday night debuts. They debut them at 12:01 a.m. Pacific time on the night before, and it played well. I mean, it had a decent sampling of reviews, highly rated reviews. Never Have I Ever, and I started watching it. That's a fantastic show. I enjoy it. Have you checked that Never Have I Ever?
I haven't yet. I actually meant to watch it Monday morning to get a few episodes in so I could give a rating and hopefully help my chances out. But I ended up sleeping in a little bit later, and then I did my morning workout and everything like that. So I did end up missing it, and I just haven't got back around to it. But
yeah, very snackable. They're only like 25 to 28 minutes long, and it's very breezy. And the main character is, we were talking about sociopathy, psychopath, or sociopaths this episode. This seems to be like the ongoing theme this episode. But the main character, and she's a new discovery. I think this is her very first role. She's excellent. God, what is her name? Anyways, the main character, she's basically like a teenage sociopath. And she admits that she's in therapy. Niecy Nash is her therapist. I mean, it's a lot of fun. And John McEnroe, tennis legend John McEnroe, is the narrator.
That's awesome. For no
reason. It's just there. There she is. I'm going to butcher her name. Maitreyi Ramakrishna. Oh, you know, Maitreyi. We'll learn her name. She's that good. We will learn her name. She's excellent. So good. Seems fairly age appropriate too, but it's just a great role for her. And this one right here, she's actually put up as like the pretty cousin, and I'm losing my words now because she's going to the Gal Gadot pantheon and the Gal Gadot, Nia Long, Sanaa Lathan pantheon of incredibly beautiful women to look at. she's great in this also. It's so I've only seen 2 episodes, but I'm all the way in. The way they kind of structure this is like a kind of sarcastic, funny, on unfortunately honest portrayal of a coming of age, teenage, Indian American story. It's really good. A lot of cultural cues in there. You definitely feel like you're being exposed to another culture while still uniquely American as well. I enjoy it. It's gonna be it's a great ride right now. Actually, when I'm done with this, I'm about to go downstairs and watch 2 or 3 more.
I think I'm gonna go throw that on while I get ready for bed.
Yeah, I think another Never Have Ever would have got you out of Floored. But you definitely had room for it, about in the 7,000s per se. And yeah, the thing with Floored, and I'm not sure if this is so much a function of it being a Monday release or it be on Quibi. This is our first Quibi title, and it did not perform at all.
And that was another thing I overlooked. I didn't even realize that it was a Monday release. Had I realized that, I made a lot of clerical errors last week. Not necessarily a banner performance on my part. It doesn't even look like it has any ratings yet on.
No, it had full default score. It was the only one that had a full default score this week. So
I even looking at it now, I'm not seeing any ratings on it. So that'll keep me honest from doing a Quibi, anything Quibi related here for the next few weeks that we have, if there's anything on there.
Yeah, and also it'll keep me honest from a salary making standpoint too. Like these will also probably be downgraded for lack of popularity, 100%.
But yeah, I mean, I had a good as you've touched on a couple of the pods, the documentaries have had quite the effect, and I've gone documentary heavy on my last couple ones, but I was a touch skeptical on it being on Apple TV, how many people would have actually watched it. So I faded that one and I went all in on Bad Education.
Yeah, and actually, and I remember when I did the weekend recap, I was a little questionable about the non-documentary heavy strategy, but yeah, I was optimistic about Bad Education, and when I did the Saturday update, I'm like, well, Bad Education was smart because I mean people are loving this movie, and that was before I had a chance to see it. I'm like, okay, it's totally deserved. So this is actually a really good strategy, and definitely, and I think I did like the contrariness of it because while a lot of us were stocking up on documentaries, I said that it's a high risk, high reward. While a lot of us are stocking up on documentaries, here's Ringballs. If this hits, he has a good shot to kind of bypass all his documentary lovers towards the top spot. It just didn't pan out with Floored.
Well, because the previous week I was the opposite. I think I had a 4 or 5 pack of The Last Dance and was hoping that was enough to get me there. And I think Gamble got me by less than a point because I think I picked another movie that Shailene Woodley movie that I guess got pushed back and didn't even come out. So
yeah,
couple mental mistakes have cost me. I feel like I'm really close. So
let's look forward then. Let's not dwell on the past. Let's look forward to this week. What do you just some strategy points for this week? What are you thinking so far? Let's pick your brain. Pick the brain of a Cinema Draft and Draft Stream winner.
So I did see the brief that you went over. I haven't dug into anything just yet. That Upload one, is that the Greg Daniels show?
Yes, it is.
That one I'm going to for sure be checking out one way or the other. I haven't decided if I'm going to have it on my call sheet yet, but a big Greg Daniels fan. I actually have The Office on right now in the background. Seen all of his shows, King of the Hill, Parks and Rec. I'm excited for the Parks and Rec episode they're releasing on Thursday.
Yes, me too.
So regardless if that's in my call sheet or not, I will be consuming that this weekend one way or the other. There was one of the Netflix movies. Was it Dangerous Lies?
Dangerous Lies. Yeah, this one I actually watched a trailer for this one. I'm out. I don't want to watch this movie. But does Camila Mendes have a big enough standship to get this thing rated highly enough with our all important audience ratings?
Yeah, that's not the one I was thinking of.
Okay.
When I was watching the what was the other? Was the half of it?
Oh,
One
the
one
half
of
of
them.
it. That's another. That's a Netflix movie. That's one with Jeffrey Wright
Oh
and
yes, yeah.
yeah, a cycle of yeah. Oh no, I'm sorry. Half of it. No,
No,
that's
was it was there was the Jeffrey Wright one? Was it a TV show or was
no,
it
no.
on
It's a
another
Netflix
platform?
movie. It's all day and a night.
That's it. Yeah, that's the one that caught my eye. I like Jeffrey Wright.
Yeah, me too.
Just it's another person. Every time he's in there, every time I see him on screen, he's just always. He just I don't even know how to describe it. He's just
He
always
owns it though. Every
yes.
time he's in a role, he just owns whatever scene he's in. He's great. He's good stuff.
So I think tomorrow I'm gonna really sit down and look and figure it out. That's one that caught my eye. That one, it looks like it's one that could rate pretty well. I'm sure I'll check that out one way or the other, even if it's not on my call sheet. But
absolutely.
So those are the two ones that caught my eye right off the bat. I will be making sure to pay closer attention to the release date, as that's got bitten me a couple times so far.
And also, no. people also, just as a reminder, I know Harper this every week, but use your tiebreakers. We got that close to having a tie. Let's use our tiebreakers this week. Guess the highest Rotten Tomatoes critic score, 0 to 100%, and also guess the highest rated IMDb user score, 0.0 to 10.0. Yes, it's definitely as game theories start to harden, as we get a better grip on the game from a player standpoint. I expect some of our top players to have similar thoughts. So let's get our tiebreakers in. I look forward to seeing how it's going to shake out this week. I think, I actually haven't done my research yet this week. I think Hollywood's going to be big, but it's going to be too expensive. So I might just try to get as much Hollywood as I can. It's Ryan Murphy. He's a crowd pleaser. He does, The Politician, which was my guide as far as salary making went this week. The Politician had like a 7.5 IMDb user rating. People seem to love it. So Hollywood definitely is a high profile movie this week, or actually a high profile miniseries debuting on Netflix this week. So I expect it will do pretty well. And we have no documentaries. There's no documentaries for us to game around. So it'll be very interesting to see how our first documentary-less weekend shapes out.
Yeah, this is gonna be an interesting week. It looks I've got Hollywood up right now. It's got 195 review or rates right now, and it's only sitting at a 5.5. So that might be something I have to dig in a little bit more to see what we're going there, because that was the high priced one, wasn't it?
It was, and this might be another Black AF situation where, because I'm excited about it, I mark it up, and it comes out with like low reviews. But that was a series, a Netflix series that started off super low, and then as the weekend progressed, it kept picking up higher and higher. I think it came in fourth in that weekend, but it was definitely a situation where the early ratings were low, but it gained over the weekend as people saw more and more of it. Since Hollywood, I believe, is like an hour-long show, I don't know if there'll be enough people to watch the entire thing throughout the weekend to really bump up this number. This also could be a bunch of Hollywood insiders who hate on everything about higher standards. Whereas when the mass market gets our hands on it, it might be a totally different story. So that's this is a pickle for me. Ringballs is a pickle for me. I gotta do my research. That'll be my Wednesday night.
No, yeah, that's I know you've said it before, but I always take the critics with a grain of salt, because sometimes they don't feel like they have the pulse of what the general public likes. So just because it's rated poorly or just because it's rated bad, that doesn't sway my opinion anyway on it going into it. So I try to keep as open of a mind on anything as I can when I'm going to see it.
And that for me is the fun and the beauty of the draft stream game, at least, is that because the audience score is weighted 60% higher than the critic scores, we have to keep in mind the audience. We have to think like an audience and what they're going to go for, because far be it for me to ever watch a Lifetime movie, but some of those Lifetime movies score really high on IMDb user ratings. They have a niche. They definitely go for it. The Apple TV Plus shows. I'm not sure how exposed to Apple TV you are. I've watched several stuff. They've got really great content. I watched Home Before Dark. That's a great little show, and a lot of their stuff is actually rated pretty high. So I'm gonna keep my eye on Trying on Apple TV. I'm gonna keep my eye on Hollywood. Maybe even Betty, a real cheapie that's not getting a lot of publicity. I think because it's addressing a specific counterculture. The kind of teen skateboard culture. The people who actually take time to rate it on IMDb might rate it higher. We never know.
Yeah, no, yeah. There's a lot of things that I'll keep my eye on this week, and I don't have anything else to do besides sit around and watch movies and TV. So,
amen. And that can be a better segue or promotion for the Draft Stream game. Please join us in our alpha test. Call sheets are due Thursday, 6 p.m. Pacific time. In order to get a link or an invite, there will be one in the description for this podcast. Or if you get the weekly newsletter, make sure to sign up for that. We are once again putting up a $50 prize pool, eligible for our top 2 non-Cinema Draft employee spots. And as Ringballs mentioned, some of y'all are out of work, so come get this money. Come get this money. So, anything else you'd like to add, Ringballs?
In the spirit of that, I think this is going to finally be my week where I break through. So I personally, if you are first place and do beat me, I will put up another $50 myself. So if you get that first place money and over me, you're going to get an extra $50 coming from me.
Whoa.
So that's how confident I am this week.
That, my friends, is a challenge.
Finish him.
Come after the boy. Come after Ringballs. I'm sorry, how much were you putting out there? $25? 50. Whoa. He's matching the prize pool, y'all. You heard it here first. Druzad, our winner this week. And congratulations, big up to Druzad. His first time playing. I don't think he even played the Cinema Draft game. This might be his first Cinema Draft.
I think he played a little bit. I recognize the name.
Actually, you're right. He did play a little bit, but he came in hot. I made fun of his call sheet. It's my bad. I called the Noah's Ark call sheet. He had the 2x2. Everything was in pairs. Was in pairs with 2. But he came out at the very last second. Relying heavily on the rave reviews and Never Have I Ever, and overperforming really with Extraction and Bad Education. To be honest with you, defending Jacob too.
Even with Penny Dreadful trying to drag him down.
Honestly, it was the user reviews that saved his ass. I mean, I think it was at like a 5 or 6 something, and that came with like a 6 point something, and that really saved his ass. So well done, Druzad. Druzad, last week's winner. You got competition this week. Our boy Ringballs putting up a big 5-0, matching the prize pool to anyone who can knock him out. This is his week. Just for that, I don't need your money. I don't want to win your money, but I'm gonna win this week. Damn it! Just to watch. Let's make a grown man cry. Damn it! Actually, this is what I'll do. If I beat you this week, Ringballs, I will take your money and add to the prize pool for next week.
Perfect.
There we go. So I'm in it to win it. Damn it! I'm winning this week. And then, of course, same rules still apply. The top 2 non-Cinema Draft employee spots will win part of our $50 prize pool. $35 the first, $15 the second. Come get this money. Appreciate your support, Ringballs. This is great. I love seeing the side bets go on. This is great. Hopefully, we'll get our beloved Jay Devlin back on track and playing this week as well. And
I think this will get him. That's Mr.
Lay that
Mr.
gauntlet
Devlin
out in the group chat too. Lay it out in the group chat. This will be great. This is great.
No, let's get a big group this week and see if you guys can take me down.
Absolutely. Give more work for me, but damn it, I love to see it and all that data. Let's get some more people playing the game. All right, and we're gonna bring this sucker in for a landing. Man, a bonus bounty challenge. In episode strategy, you've been an outstanding guest. Thanks so much for coming by and elevating the Cinema Draft podcast with your presence, Nick. Give yourself a hand, damn it.
Thanks for having me, Eduardo. I've been wanting to come on. Next time I come on, we'll get drunk Ringballs on here for you.
You know what? We've got this on tape. We're going to hold you to it. We're getting drunk Ringballs next time he's back on the podcast. Great shit. And, as we like to ask for our guests, if there's anything you have to plug, go ahead and plug your ish. Ringballs.
Not much. If you want to follow me on Twitter, it's Ringballs22. It's right there. I feel like Eduardo and I see eye to eye on a lot of topics. So if you like following him, you're probably going to like.
There it is. At
There it is.
Ringballs22, NJR. All right. So that's going to be it for this podcast. Thanks, everybody, for watching or listening. If you're listening at home, as we usually like to say, go see a movie or something. But no, we are not opening up America, damn it. Stay home. No matter what your elected official tells you, we are not out of this yet. Why don't you quarantine with a movie or something? And we'll see y'all next week. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Play Draft Stream, damn it. Stay your ass at home. And we'll see y'all next time. Peace.